welcome again to another episode of Amazing Entrepreneurs, where we talk to entrepreneurs about real talk and shared growth. I'm here with a good friend of mine, Frank Christiano, and why don't you introduce yourself?
Mike, first and foremost, thank you for having me. This is an incredible opportunity, great place. Really enjoy it.
Thank you.
So Frank Christiano. I'm with Premier Lending Corp. We're a direct wholesale mortgage broker. Been in the business about 20 years. Got into it fresh out of college, right back in 2004, and I've been doing this crazy gig ever since. So
Right, you got in when it was probably taking off real wild.
So when I got into it, it was probably about July, August of 2004. I'll never forget. I was just finishing up my third year at FAU.
Okay.
And which, by the way, FAU, when I went to school 20 years ago, and FAU today is a completely different thing.
Right.
It's incredibly different.
Right.
We had no football stadium. Place was just completely different. And I remember saying to myself, I had no idea what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to get into finance, and because all my cousins were in finance, accounting, business finance, and I got through my third year of FAU, and I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. I said, I don't really enjoy it. I said, I thought I did. I needed something. What ended up happening was after my second year of college, I needed to pick something I wanted to do. And I said, okay, well, I guess I have to choose. And it was either accounting, business finance, something in one of those industries, and kind of just followed what everybody else was doing.
Right.
And ended up doing that. And I'm like, I really don't enjoy this. It's not fun. I don't want to sit at a desk for 15 hours a day. And I'm going to look into something else. And it's just happened to stumble into my lap.
Right. So wait. So you were looking into it. You were attending FAU.
Yep.
And then you got a job doing regular business work, and you were like, hey, this is a accounting finance sort of a thing.
This is even prior to that. I didn't even
Okay.
enter the industry. I just, after my third year
Okay.
of college, I was like, you know what, I don't really enjoy this.
Right.
I think you find out, like, when you're doing something, if you have a real passion for it.
Right.
And I didn't. I remember I would have exams, and I had no real desire to learn any more than I already knew,
Right.
which I thought was enough at the time. And I'm like, you know what, I have to pivot. I have to find something I really enjoy doing. And quite honestly, I wasn't even sure it was the mortgage industry.
Mm-hmm.
I knew it was people were doing well with it. And I remember my mother saying to me, you're almost done with college. It's time to get a job. And I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Right.
I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to do business finance.
Right.
So I remember I was reading the Sun Sentinel one day,
Mm-hmm.
which for the youngsters is a newspaper.
Yes.
A newspaper.
Okay.
So they would deliver it to my house every morning, and I would read the paper on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I looked in the classified section, and I saw there was
What's classified?
So that would be equivalent to like Indeed.
Okay.
Or like LinkedIn, where you find a job.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm looking in the classified section, and I stumble upon a job where it's in Boca. It's right down the street from FAU.
Okay.
No requirement in terms of hours, which I liked. I don't want to be obligated to a job. So I remember calling up, and they said, "Yeah, come on in. We're hiring." And I remember going there, and it was right here on 2nd Avenue, right here in Boca Raton. The company was RT Funding. And I met with a gentleman named Dennis, who, by the way, was brilliant. Learned a lot from him. And he said, okay, you can start Monday if you'd like. And I'm like, I don't even have experience. I don't even know what this is.
Right.
So I said, okay, great. He goes, we pay no salary. It's commission only. And
Wow.
we give you no draw.
Wow.
Now, the only reason I could do that at the time was because I'm living at home.
Okay.
So I remember, took the position, and I remember my mother saying to me, look, give it a shot for 6 months. If you don't like it, you try something else.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, great. So I go into this office on Monday, and I remember it was pouring rain. I was beyond miserable. And after the first 2 weeks, I'm like, I can't handle this.
Yeah. I mean, that's a honestly, it's sales and no draw, no nothing. You better get in here. You better
Zero.
you better perform.
They handed me a phone book. Okay. Now again, the younger people are probably, what is a phone book? That would be equivalent to your contact list in your iPhone or your Android. And we had a phone book, and you basically had to dial the phone book.
Right.
It was a true cold call.
Right.
Where you were calling somebody, introducing yourself. Hi, I'm Frank. This is the company I'm with. Do you know of anyone that's in the market to purchase a home or refinance? And you got two answers. A, they hung up on you, and sometimes they would hang up and throw a few words in there, and you would never call them back.
Right.
Or B, you might get lucky enough for someone to say, I've been considering it. Call me back in 3 months. Well, I don't have 3 months. I have to make money right now.
Right. Right. That's a tough job.
Grind, everyday grind, man.
I'm actually, our company that I'm working on now is like, hey, part of, marketing, there's a bunch of different ways you can go about marketing, but prospecting's a huge one, and it still works. And so we're looking at growing a prospecting, practice now, right? So from scratch. And my background is call center, so I know a little bit about scripting. I know a little bit about list building and things of that nature, but that is a very hard job. And I heard a really good opener. And actually, because like now I get a bunch of them because I own a business, and so I am a decision maker, somebody that they, everybody wants to call because they're going to say, hey, listen to my product. And I heard a good sales opener. It was like, ring ring, hey, this is a cold call. I'm gonna I want to let you know up front that this is a cold call, and I'm fixing to offer you a product. So I'm going to give you the ability to politely hang up, or if you're willing to listen to me for 20 seconds, and if it's not for you, then feel free to hang up again. And if you approach it with like, hey, asking for permission, knowing that instead of like, hey, how you doing? That's like the worst one. The worst. Oh my God.
It's funny. That's what I started doing when I would prospect, and I still do it to this day. So if I call someone and they've never spoken to me before, I politely let them know, hey, just want to let you know this is, I'm calling you. It's a cold call. It's a sales call, and feel free to hang up on me if you'd like. But if you have 2 minutes, I'd like to just tell you more about what I can offer you.
That's a beautiful opener, because it's respectful.
Correct.
Yeah, because like, listen, you're calling somebody up, you're interrupting their day, and honestly, I've got a bunch of other going on. And, like the last thing I need to do is hear about what you were doing, how your business is so cool, how your product is so cool.
Well, not only that, you're number one, you're catching them off guard.
Right.
So they're probably doing something else.
Right.
9 times out of 10.
Right.
They're not waiting for your call.
No.
So they're not prepared to even have a conversation with you. Mm-hmm. So at least if you give them the 20 or 30 second buffer, letting them know, hey, you've never spoken to me, you have no idea who I am, but I have something I feel might be viable for you if you'd like to listen. If not, no hard feelings. I'll never call you again.
Right.
And it's a numbers game. You're going to make 100 calls.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, you might get to speak to 10 people.
Right.
If you're lucky.
Right. And you speak to 10 people and maybe 2 people give you an appointment.
Best case scenario.
Right.
Just to put that into perspective, my daughter plays softball. If she had 100 at-bats and she got 10 hits, she'd be on the bench.
Right.
In sales, we're looking to speak to 10 people and possibly get 2 appointments.
Right. No, that's...
So it's a grind.
So tell me, do you remember your first sell?
I do. I'll never forget. So it took me about 4 months. Okay. And it was...
no money.
No money.
Grinding.
4 months. But now, again, I was living at home at the time.
No, but still, that's like, that's a level of... That's a tenacity, and it's like, hey, I have to, for an entrepreneur, like you have to love it, right? And prospecting for a while, like no matter what, you're going to get burned out on it. But from an entrepreneur's perspective, or hey, I want to open up my own business. What are you going to do?
You got to be willing to lose everything.
Right.
Now, at the time, I wasn't losing everything. Again, I was living with family.
Right.
But for a lot of people, they might be trying to pivot in their career. They might be in their mid-30s, late 30s, right? And they may say, look, I don't like what I do. I'm going to pivot. But not everybody has 6 months or a year or 2 years worth of reserves. So it's a big decision. You got to make that decision and say, am I willing to really live very, very lean for the next X amount of months until I can get this business off the ground and start seeing a profit?
Right.
And unfortunately, a lot of times it doesn't happen.
I mean, S&P, I heard I brought it up in a previous podcast, but, there's a book, $100 million Offer. And, he makes a good point as like, hey, the S&P market, out of every vertical, 20% of the businesses go out every single year. So that means you need to be doing at least 20% or you're going to get shaken out either by, hey, money or B, loss of will.
We see it every day. There are people so I'm in mortgage financing, and so mortgage is going to be tied to real estate, title insurance, homeowners insurance, anything that has to do with the purchase of a home. We're seeing every day individuals leaving the industry because they're not able to survive.
Right. Well, it's a tough market.
Very tough.
I mean, I know the barrier of entry is like it's a very lucrative. So it's the barrier of entry. I wouldn't say it's non-existent, but it's easier than it is for like a doctor or something like that. But you can make like the top end of like, real estate agents or, people that own their own firms or whatnot is like astronomical.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't take a whole lot to get into what I do.
Yeah. Well, I don't know much about the brokerage end of it. I'm talking about just real estate. I know you have to pass your license.
So they're very similar. You have to pass your exam. And at that point, it's really just finding a company that's going to allow you to work there with little to no experience.
Right. And then produce.
Yeah,
when there's 1,000 other people, who are, because I know a few agents or people who do it on the side or things of that nature. So that's another hard part is like, you have people that have other jobs and then kind of do it on the side for extra money and stuff like that, which makes it even harder.
Well, it's harder for two reasons. Keep in mind, there's 22,000, give or take, 22,000, maybe 21,000 real estate agents in Palm Beach County alone.
What?
There's a lot of them.
In Palm Beach County?
There's a lot. Now, that's factoring in ones that do it as a part-time thing, some that may just have their license that aren't even active.
Yeah.
But think about that for a second. 22,000 people you're competing with in an industry where inventory is continuing to decline.
Right.
It's not like there's 22,000 of us or them, and inventory is going up every month. Inventory is consistently going down. Rates are going up, which is the reason why inventory is low. And on top of it, you're competing with 22,000 other people.
Right. I want to ask one last question about this because before we go into, because it's, hey, you work in that industry, and I because there's 22,000, there's bound to be a few real estate agents that are listening. And so to those listeners, what is if you can say, what do you see that's common in a successful real estate agent that you can point and be like, hey, do that, and do that well?
I think there are three things that if you want to succeed in either the real estate industry or a mortgage financing industry, number one is consistency. That's the biggest thing. Being consistent day in and day out with your day. Right. Doing the same thing every day. Like I tell my daughter, she plays softball. I always go back to her because she's trying to really get her to a certain level because she's good, but she could be a lot better. And I tell her, you have to be willing to do the same thing every time you go to the plate.
Right.
Your feet need to be in the same position. Your hands need to be in the same position. Everything, your head has to be in the same position. So the consistency is very important in anything, whether it's softball, real estate, mortgage, whatever it is. You have to be consistent with it. Number two is being able to structure your day. That's the biggest thing. The top agents that I know, every day from 9 to 12, they block out 3 hours to prospect new sellers. Every day, 3 hours, no matter what. You can't get them on the phone. They will not take an appointment. Unless it's a dire emergency, you're not getting them on the phone.
Wow.
So consistency, structuring your day and being able to really time block your schedule. And the third is just being okay with being rejected.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be rejected.
Yeah.
It's very simple arithmetic. There's 22,000 agents. There's limited inventory, and you are making 100 calls a day and probably being hung up on 90 times.
Right.
Which is a really, really crappy feeling.
Yeah, and you,
Can we curse on here? No.
no, I mean, you're right. It is a
It's a
shitty
pretty
feeling.
shitty feeling.
Yeah, right. No, but
90 times out of 100, someone's going to tell you, I have no interest in what you have to say and do not ever call me again.
right, and it's
But
not taking it personal.
correct. But those 10 people you do speak to and those 2 or 3 appointments you do land, that could be the difference between being an agent that does 5 million a year to one that maybe does 20 or 30. Because that one appointment might be somebody who's, I don't know, you never know who you're going to meet.
Right.
Think about it.
Right. I've got a friend of mine in the industry, and he started working with us, on our first home where it was a little 300 banger, and now I saw him post, and he's selling homes that are 4 or 5 million. I'm like, all right, now
You got to start somewhere, right? You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, we're the budget house on the block. I mean, it was a nice house, but you have to like get the credibility. And you're working with a firm that, people believe in. You get the practice. I'm a big believer in practice and process because we do software development, right? Or even prospecting, scripting, right? So, I call up and I say the same thing. It's not to like give people, but you need to have something to measure against. Because if you don't know if it's going to work or not, unless you're measuring it.
Correct. The scripting is very big when it comes to the prospecting side of any industry that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
So wing it and not sound the same on every call, you're inconsistent at that point.
Yeah.
Now for me, it's different because sometimes I'm getting inbound calls. So those you don't have to be as scripted.
Yeah.
They can come across. You can come across a little bit more authentic.
Right.
Rather than they might know that you're reading from a script.
Well, you can do when I say, because I don't necessarily think that it should be like, hey, it's the same thing with no rigid, but if you don't have like a thing where I say, hey, I'm going to give my little intro speech where it's like, hey, I know this is a cold call. I'm going to offer you a product. I'm going to give you an opportunity to hang up, or if you would give me 20 seconds and then you can feel free to listen, or if it's not for you afterwards, hang up. Are you open to that? Something like that, where it's written out to where it's like, hey, I know that works, or maybe I changed the first part. Maybe I changed the second part, but you don't know. You can't improve if you don't know where you're going. And if you don't do the same thing consistently, you say, hey, how you doing? Or hey, sometimes I do that. How are you going to measure that?
You can't. It's not possible.
Right.
It's not possible.
So rewinding back, because, I want to get back to so you start off prospecting, you're working in the brokerage industry. Like, so what's your, and now, so give us the, fast forward to, currently, so my understanding, and I don't know shit about the industry, right? So you are basically, I know you franchise, or you're kind of working underneath.
So the company I represent is Premier Lending Corp.
Okay.
Our logo's right here.
Okay.
I love mortgages. I like to show it.
I love it. I love it.
So
Me too. And most people who don't have a mortgage also love them too.
Yeah, exactly. Especially now when rates are in the sevens.
Right.
So my team is it's myself,
okay.
my partner Alex, and then we have a third partner. His name is Anthony. Anthony's our transaction coordinator. I think
I have met Anthony.
You have?
Yeah, he's a good dude.
So great guys. They work hard. They really do. The name of our team is the A Team.
Yes. Yeah. The Alpha Squad.
Yeah. So great show, by the way. For the older people, they I don't want to say older, but people like our age, you say that to name to somebody else, they have no idea what it is.
Right.
So, so we represent Premier Lending. We're a direct wholesale broker. We're not a lender. So the big difference with us in comparison to other companies is we have access to close to 40 investors that we work with.
Okay.
We partner with the #1 wholesale lender in the country, which is United Wholesale Mortgage. Owner of the company actually owns the Phoenix Suns. Matt Ishbia is his name. Great guy. Really cool. We met him a couple of months ago. So the main difference with us is that we just have access, in my opinion, I believe we have access to the best investors. We have access to more loan products than other companies. We have lower rates, lower cost. And I just feel like, coming from a retail background for so many years, we have a little bit more flexibility on the wholesale broker side than we did on the retail side.
So when you say retail side, what's a typical retail side?
So that would be your big box retailers. So your Chase, Wells, Citi, BOA, PNC, and then you've also got Rocket, you've got Fairway Independent, you've got Supreme Lending, Guaranteed Rate, and you've got Cross Country Mortgage. I was there for many years.
Right.
Great companies, all great companies, just a little bit different than what we have to offer.
Right, because it's one, hey, I come in, I was thinking about this, it's like the Tesla. You go in, you go into a Tesla dealership, guess what?
You're buying a Tesla.
You're buying a Tesla.
Correct.
Yeah, right. You go into, I don't want to say used, but you go into somewhere where it has like more of an option or variety, right?
Correct.
So
we feel like, and we made this move about 6 weeks ago.
Congratulations.
Again, all great companies that I mentioned. The retailers, the big box retailers, they can be a little bit of a challenge just because there's a lot of red tape. But all very good companies. Just with us now, I feel like we just put ourselves in a position to offer the consumer and the agent a lot more than we were.
Right. So question, why? What drove the decision making to move from a big box to, your own firm? So what was the thought process behind that 6 weeks ago?
So we just wanted to be we always want to position ourselves to be able to offer the highest level of service and products that we feel like are necessary to stay relevant in today's market.
Gotcha.
So, like for example, we have loans for individuals that don't claim all their income. So we've got, let's say for example, you own a pizzeria, and let's say you make a lot of money, but you don't claim a lot of money. We have a product for that. We use just the bank statements. We have a product where there's no docs whatsoever, right? So we just have a little bit, in my opinion, we have a little bit more flexibility being with a smaller entity. I kind of compare it to a very big ship, which is where we were, to like a quick speedboat.
But when you say the A team, so like, is it like a franchise?
So Premier Lending would be so we're a team within a team.
Okay.
So for example, it's kind of like a Subway.
Okay.
So there's a Subway in every corner.
Right.
But every Subway is owned and operated by a different individual, and they're different.
Right. That's what to me, it's like, if I go to a McDonald's, it may or may not be a franchise version, but I can own 5 of them,
Correct.
And it would still be like, if you go, it's like owned and operated by, Happy Meals LLC.
Yes. Correct. And so you can go to one McDonald's that might have the worst service you've ever been to in your entire life.
Right.
But then there might be one 2 miles down the street, and it might be the greatest service you've ever had.
Right.
So the way I look at it is, or the way I think of our team structured is that we're a team within a team.
Yes.
Same thing with Cross Country. Cross Country, the owner of Cross Country is in Ohio, but each individual branch is owned and operated by other individuals.
Did you own the Cross Country branch?
I did not.
Okay.
No. Honestly, I've had many people ask me, how come you never did your own thing with Cross Country?
Right.
And it was more or less there's a lot of compliance that goes into my industry.
Okay.
Very similar to like financial services and things like that.
Right.
So I wasn't really, I didn't want to get involved in the whole compliance aspect of it. So I thought for me, it made more sense to just be an entrepreneur in a sales position where I managed my own team. I didn't have a boss. I didn't have hours.
Right.
So I could come and go as I please. I could set my own margins. I can bring on whoever I want. So I could hire anybody I wanted to. But in terms of the compliance and all the other stuff that I didn't want to do, I left that to the branch manager. Mm-hmm. I knew what I wanted to do and where I could make money, and I knew that I didn't want to do that side of it. So you know what? Let them handle that side of it.
But now you took that on?
No.
Okay.
No.
So same sort of thing, like
same sort of thing.
They're handling the compliance.
Correct.
Okay. So what's the barrier of entry? Like if you're to swap over, is it just like, hey?
It's really not that much.
Okay.
And I've thought about it.
Okay.
And it's really not that much. It's more or less just wanting to do it.
Right.
The 2 guys I'm partnered with now, they're fantastic.
Okay.
They handle all the marketing. They handle processing. So I have a lot more leverage. I don't have to be as involved in transactions as some other loan officers that are just doing everything. They're wearing 5 different hats. They're taking the initial call. They're taking the application. They're gathering documents. They're calculating income. to do all that, you can't scale a business.
Right. It's tough.
You have to be able to. I think the biggest mistake any entrepreneur makes is once they start making money, they want to keep as much as they can.
Okay.
Which is great. You want to,
I mean, I don't know. It seems, I seem to just spend it.
Well, I spend it too.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, if you're starting to make money and your company's turning a profit, most people just think, okay, great, this is where we're going to stay. How do we just continue turning a profit? The ones that really take it to another level are the ones that start adding on to the company.
Right.
Whether it's using a fake example, a marketing manager, or whether it's whatever it may be. You start adding on different positions. Well, you're taking a pay cut at that point, right? Because if you're making X for the last 3 or 4 months, but you don't have those positions, now you start adding on those positions. Well, what does that do? Well, now you got to pay them.
You need to be they need to be producing at
Correct.
either saving you time or providing.
Time is the most important thing in any business.
Right.
So in answering your question, I can do what I do
Right.
as one person.
Okay.
But I wouldn't have the time to do prospecting, lunch appointments. I wouldn't have time to do anything.
Right. I see you. I'm following you on Facebook, and it's very beautiful graphics are designed and posted up for every single transaction, and I'm sure
I don't do any of those.
I didn't think you did. Now that we're talking,
wouldn't even know how to start.
Oh my gosh, I know, but it's
no clue.
But it's it's very nice, it's very organized, and it's very professional, and it's that's all. Facebook's got to be like a beautiful spot for you guys.
It's great.
Yeah, because you guys provide that product for it because you guys do residential loans.
Correct. For years, I was never a believer in social media at all. Never really went on there. I mean, if I went on there, I popped on and popped off real quick just to see if it was somebody's birthday I might have missed,
Right.
Which there were a few.
Right.
But I never realized how good of a platform it is. It's free marketing.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And for years, I never took advantage of it.
Well, I get stuck in the conundrum of like consuming it, and it's fine, and it kind of is what it is. But like social media for me, it's with, for instance, a podcast, right? So by starting a podcast, I want people to listen. In order for listen, people have to know about it. In order for people to know about it, I have to talk about it. And part of talking about it is sharing it on natural platforms like your Facebook or wherever your target market. And yours is. I say you guys provide residential loans, but actually the people that you connect with that provide you the value to be able to do that, you're not actually selling the house. You're just processing the loan for it, but you need to work with realtors, right?
Correct. So our team knows, and our client base is the real estate agent.
Right.
Now, you are a client of mine, right?
Yeah, because you facilitate a loan.
You're the, we'll call that the conduit between myself and the agent.
Right.
So when you're introduced to me through an agent, they're my client. You're the buyer, but you're still a client as well. Does that make sense?
No, that total sense. That's what I was thinking about. Like I said, prior to us getting on the phone call, we were just chit-chatting. I was talking about, I was driving over here thinking about, because I'm always thinking about market, especially like I'm developing software. My software could be developed for the consumer, be developed for or for another business like a realtor, which is really another business, right? Or I could do wholesale, like, or franchise it out into where I'm looking for, so it really depends on who my market is, and it's, it's in and I didn't connect those dots earlier. I was like, oh, I really am the conduit between that. So like, yes, I am interacting with you, but ultimately, for your business to grow, it's like, hey, I need to, engage with and provide value to these agents.
Correct. So my brother-in-law, Matt Weaver, great guy.
Right.
I mean, we were essentially partners for years,
Right.
Still on great terms. He taught me a very valuable lesson. There's 2 ways you can look at any business. You can look at it as a business, or you can look at it transactional. And I think the challenge with whether it's someone that's in my industry or a real estate agent or an insurance agent or whatever it may be, they look at something as a transaction as opposed to a business. Meaning you are buying a house. Mike Riley's buying it. So that would be, and I look at that, I look at that one transaction and I watch it through the whole process.
Right.
Right. I wear 5 hats. I take your application, I gather your docs, I review your loan your income.
Deal with a bunch of bullshit from the buyer
Correct.
too, because like I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm surprised you were even talking after our experience.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I thought for sure he got done with this, and he was like, I'm never talking to that guy again.
No, but what ends up happening is if you look at it from a transactional mindset,
Right.
and you don't go out and get other business while that one's, facilitating, right? What happens when that closes? Now you have no one else.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I've heard so many agents say to me, I have 2 closing this week. I said, oh, it's great. What about for September? I've got nothing. And it's like, you're not looking at it from a business standpoint.
Right.
That would be like you and I owning a pizzeria. I don't know why you just keep going. Maybe I should have pizza for lunch.
Listen, I mean, we can always get some afterwards. So.
So it'd be like you and I owning a pizzeria, and we sell 20 pizzas today.
Right.
And we open the doors tomorrow, and not one person walks in.
Okay.
So we had a great day on Thursday,
right?
Because we sold 20 pies. Let's just assume that's a good day.
Right.
But tomorrow we open the doors and no one comes there.
Right.
So we didn't look at it from a business standpoint mindset. It was more of a transactional.
Yes.
We just focused on making those 20 pizzas for the day.
Right.
We didn't market.
Right.
We didn't advertise. No one knew who we were. We got no reviews. So how does someone know who we are?
Yeah. No, that's a challenge. And the reviews are huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's so much that goes into it that you constantly have to be thinking like, how can I make this experience better for this client?
And the agent as well. I like how if I were you, I would have done the same thing. Look, if I have one product that I can offer, and it's my only offer, and look, I mean, I can't offer anything to this specific client. I would love to help you out, but there's just nothing I can do because I have no basis, or I have no recourse on how to provide that service. Now I've swapped.
Yeah.
And now I have a list of stuff that I can do so I can get creative. So this isn't the best offer for you. This is, right?
Correct.
And so I can provide more value for my client because I want the real estate agent to be like, I thought we were never going to close, but Frank made that happen. And that was a game changer for me, for my business as a real estate agent. And then also, if something happens to me, I'm calling you up, and it's like, just because like I was just a conduit, but like, hey, my buddy Frank's going to tell me like, hey, now's a good, or at least have a conversation with me.
Correct.
Like, I don't know, Mike.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I would say that because I know, the name of the podcast, the show is OHmazing or OHmazing.
OHmazing. Olivia and Hazel.
Okay. Olivia. The kids?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
now I put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. Olivia and Hazel. Well, I can't reverse it.
No, definitely not. That would not be
fair enough.
That would not be appropriate.
Yeah.
What I was going to say was, to the entrepreneurs out there, you have to constantly be trying to provide more value to whatever the target audience is.
Improvement.
Because if somebody can offer the same thing you can, either at a cheaper cost, or they can offer it at the same cost, but it's a better experience, or there's more value there, they're going to switch.
Yeah. You better have a good damn relationship with them.
Very good.
Yeah.
It better be a deep relationship.
Yeah. Otherwise, they're just like, because in reality, they're just kind of giving away cash for nothing other than the fact
they're going to say to you,
yeah.
why am I working with you if I can go to John down the street
right.
and get the same thing at a cheaper cost?
Right. Right.
I mean, no hard feelings.
Yeah, no
it's
hard
simple
feelings.
numbers.
It's this is nothing personal. It's business.
Yeah.
I got to put food on the table.
Yeah.
So
you have to be, and if you're going to charge more than John down the street, there better be a valid reason as to why you're doing it. You better be able to offer something that person or business isn't able to offer.
Right.
Because otherwise, what ground do you have to offer to charge that?
So, because like we've been talking a lot about like, hey, discipline, because that's kind of what I extrapolated out of like your previous thing. It's like, hey, you have to have some level of consistency, and once you get up and you do the same thing. We were actually, we started a little group with business owners and myself where it's like, hey, because I don't have anybody I answer to. The only person I answer to is me. And I do a pretty good job, but that's not good enough. Right, because like, hey, there's, because only I know when it's like you should have made that call. you didn't make that call. You know, it may or may not have done anything, but like you could have made that call.
Yeah.
And so it's like, and I'm very hard on myself, but it's just a little bit better if I can have some sort of like accountability, and we call it the accountability group. But what I'm getting at is we got the idea from some friends in the industry that they do a working call. And so they get on the call and they do their little stand up, and then they go on mute, and then they dial for 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so they like dial straight up, just like hitting it, because nobody wants to do that, right?
No.
But if they don't show up, they have to pay a fine. And so it's something that they've kind of committed to. It's kind of how they drive success, because it's, you know, it's the things that you don't want to do is what drives success.
Of course.
You know?
So I have an accountability group. It's at home.
Right.
There's a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old.
Fair enough.
So that's the accountability group.
Okay.
So I always say to myself, I don't want to make that call today. Right. Because some days you don't want to do it.
Right. Right.
It's not about what you do on the good days. It's what you do on the days where you're not feeling up to doing it.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're going to get your ass kicked.
Yep.
It's just a matter of time.
Yep. So I will say to myself, how can I say to my daughter, you need to go outside for a half an hour and hit off the tee and practice your swing,
Right.
if I'm not willing to do the same thing?
Right.
So I'm telling her to do something because she needs to be accountable for her team, right?
Right.
And I'm telling my younger daughter, who's having some issues reading right now, but we're getting there.
And mine too. Mine's a little speech,
Yeah.
but I'm with you. I'm with
She's
you.
getting there. So how can I have her read 100 flashcards, right, and write out sentences, and have the other one go outside and hit for 30 minutes in his heat,
Right.
if I'm not willing to make an extra phone call?
Yeah, yeah. No, it's
So that's kind of how I look at it. And,
No, it's not
I'm the
bad.
same way you are. I beat myself up.
Yeah, well, I mean, only we know, you know, and that's good. It gets me 90% of the way. Otherwise, I wouldn't be, you know, I should probably dial it in and go find a job, right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's just
not
you
at all.
have to have that. If you do not have that, it's just not going to work out, because nobody's going to sit back and be like, why didn't you do that? You're going to rest on your laurels. You're going to be like, hey, I had a good day last week, and I had a good month last week. Hell, I had a good year last year. Doesn't matter. If you're not doing any marketing or anything to produce for the next year, there's going to be, and trust me, I found it out the hard way. You know, it's like I was doing all this stuff in this one aspect, doing all this stuff in the other aspect, working in the business, not working on building the business. And those are two different things.
Constantly just have to be trying to figure out what else you can bring in terms of value, right?
Speaking of which, shoot me your shot, man. So what is the value difference between the A team?
So I would say the biggest thing with us is, number one, availability is huge. And it's not to take a shot at anyone else in the industry, but number one, we're a 7-day-a-week operation.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So my partner, Alex, I mean, he's sitting at his desk 7 a.m. every day.
Right.
And same with me. I mean, I'm there 7:30, 8 o'clock. I drop the younger one off at school. And, you know, we're just, number one, availability is huge.
Right.
Because let's say you're out on the weekend, you find the house, you love it, you want to make an offer, you call a lender, and they say, look, I can't help you right now. I'm in the pool, and I've got 35 people at my house, and I'll have to call you back tomorrow.
Right.
And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, there's
You have to have a life, by the way.
Yeah, but it's having a team. That's why you have a team.
Correct. So if that happens with me, if somebody calls me and I say, look, I can't get to it right now, but I'm going to have my partner, Alex, give you a call. He is available.
Right.
And we can facilitate this entire process on a Saturday. Whereas if we tell them, look, we can't get to it right now, let's talk either Sunday or maybe we'll connect on Monday.
Right.
Well, the challenge is in the housing market we're in right now.
Right.
Someone else is going to come in and they're going to look at that house.
Right.
They're probably going to like
right
it
now.
right now.
I remember when I was buying, I was like, we need to
Right now.
put it in right now. Get that offer out.
Yeah, because look, I mean, you have in Palm Beach County, you have inventory like this every month. It's going down, and you still have a lot of buyers. So if I look at a house on a Saturday with my wife and kids and we fall in love with it, and I call my lender and they say, look, I can't get to it until tomorrow or Monday.
Right.
The chances are someone else is going to come look at it. They're going to like it same way we would.
Right.
And they're going to call their lender that may be available, and they're going to be able to make an offer on that house.
Gotcha.
And then ultimately they lose the house, and then they're going to look at me and say, you know what? You weren't able to provide the value that I needed, so I'm going to look for someone else.
Yeah. I mean, that's, it's I
It's
mean,
a vicious cycle,
it's a
by the way.
vicious, you know, and you can't win them all, but you definitely like you can't get the hit that you're when you ain't at the plate, you know.
Correct.
And so like you know,
Correct.
shoot or shoot.
Exactly. And I tell the team all the time, I said, guys, the weekend is, we have to treat the weekend the same way we would a Thursday.
Right.
In
Right.
fact, there's been times where we're busier on the weekend. And that's
Right.
great. That means
Right.
people are out there looking for houses. They want to
Right.
make offers.
Right.
So you got to, I had a great line from a guy in the gym a couple of months ago. He said to me, what did he say? He said, make hay while the sun shines. I said, Dan, what does that mean? I said, I've never been around hay.
Right.
He goes, just do it while you can.
Right. Right.
Get it while you can, because there's going to be a time where the sun's not shining, and I guess you can't make hay if the sun's not shining.
That was being COVID, right? You know, so you know, we aren't making money unless other businesses are making money. So
Oh, really? That's
well, I mean, we're straight business to business. So like,
Okay.
and our clients are, you know, it's a variety of different businesses, and a lot of businesses went under because they weren't making. You know,
oh man,
it
was crazy.
It was, you know, that was, but I mean, you know what? We started our business in 2018. Who knows? You know, who the hell knows?
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's
Well, everything's timing.
right.
I always say everything in life is about timing.
Mm.
And then people say, "Oh, well, so and so was very lucky." Well, they say luck is when opportunity meets what's the old expression?
Preparation.
Correct.
Yep.
When preparation meets opportunity.
Yep.
That's luck.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can call it lucky all you want to, but those dudes were ready.
Correct.
They were ready. You know,
Correct.
you know, it's like put me up, and as soon as I have my opportunity, that's why you
Correct.
train. You know, that's why So
Well, look at Tom Brady. He was on the bench.
yeah.
Quarterback gets injured. They
Yeah.
put him in there. Never got his job back.
Well, that's the NFL just in general.
Never got his job back.
Tom Brady's the most famous. Yeah, Drew Bledsoe, by the
Yep.
way. Drew
Was great.
Bledsoe was a fantastic quarterback.
Very good quarterback.
Yeah, he's no Tom Brady, but like he was no slouch.
No.
That's for sure. Like he would be like I'm trying to think of a comp right now, but it would be
Justin Herbert.
Yeah, just
Same
like
size, same arm
like a
strength.
Justin Herbert, going down. It's like
Yep.
he's a bona fide starter at
Yeah.
any NFL team.
Yep.
So
Yeah, lost his job and that was it.
yeah, but availability, price, because you have a bunch of different options that you can get.
Got some
creative
different
with.
options. The
Yeah.
availability piece is really big. Just being
Yeah.
able to really facilitate after hours,
Right.
weekend hours.
Right,
That's the biggest thing, in my opinion, that really separates us from other companies.
right. So question: where do you guys like 5 years from now? You just made the move. Like you made the move 6 weeks ago. Where do you see? And you say you're constantly adding, looking at ways you can provide value. Ideal situation. Where do you want to be in 5 years?
That's a good question. I think that I want to be able to add on to the team.
Okay.
Right. Ideally, we have a goal in mind as far as how many units a month we want to get to
Sure.
by the end of the year. And once we get there, I told them, I said, we're going to get there in December. That's the month I'm predicting.
Right.
I said, it's not going to happen in September or October. I said, maybe November, but without a doubt, we're going to get there for December. I'm confident.
Right.
And they said, okay, what? I said, well, once we get there, we'll figure out what the next step is going to be.
Right.
And we'll just continue, let's say it's here and we hit that, we want to go here now.
Right.
And if we get here, we want to go here.
Right.
But ideally, what I like to do is just, bring on additional loan officers,
Okay.
build out a team that works with us. I think anyone in the industry right now is, I don't want to say, what's the right word? You should always be looking to position yourself to be in a better position.
Well, I mean,
Whether
you
it's
never know.
financially, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And when I met with the owner of the company, our main partner, he said to me, well, remember one thing, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And it hit me.
Right.
And it's like, so a lot of these loan originators out there, they don't know that there's potentially maybe a more viable option for their business model.
Mm.
It may not make sense for someone else or may not make sense for this person, but it's always worth looking at, seeing if there's a more viable option for you.
Gotcha.
Yes,
I agree wholeheartedly. So running low on time, but quick question: if you could give one piece of advice for these aspiring originators or realtors out there, or just business in general, what would it be that we haven't talked about so far?
I mean, really just have to stay consistent. I go back to it. It's not about what you do on the good days. It's about what you can get done when you're not having a good day. Because you could very easily fall into the minutia and the negative news, because everything you see is it's negative, right? So if you fall into that trap, the mindset is going to completely change. So what I would say is just be consistent. You know, every day do the same thing. You're going to have days where it's not a good day. You may have 2 or 3 days where it's not good, but you'll start to build momentum, and momentum is very important in any kind of sales industry, any kind of as an individual salesperson or entrepreneur. It's important to just really get momentum, because once you have it, you don't stop.
Well, you don't want it to stop, because if it's so hard to start it up, and if you get it going, keep it going. Right?
Keep going. Keep the foot on the pedal. It's easy to just say, you know what, okay, we had a good week, we had a good month, but what happens if you don't continue pressing?
Right. Speaking of momentum, we were charging so fast through that episode that I almost forgot we have bills to pay. So I'm gonna pause real quick. We're going to do a live read, and then we're going to exit out. But
okay.
So if you guys missed, a couple weeks ago, we had our friends eSilo on, and so this is about them business continuity. Every business today has sensitive information. For you, that may be personal data on clients or employees, private financial information, or valuable trade secrets, like my friend Frank over here. So if it's in your systems on your laptops or you put it in the cloud, you and your companies have an obligation to protect it. And what better way to protect that information than with a comprehensive business continuity plan with secure offsite backups from eSilo.com. A business continuity plan ensures your business has what it needs to continue to serve clients, make money, and meet its obligations no matter what type of challenges you face. And eSilo has been protecting data for over 20 years. They have worked with everyone from Fortune 500 companies to startups, and their easy-to-follow strategies will protect your businesses from the dreaded 3Ds: disruption, downtime, and data loss. Protect your data today at eSilo.com. That's www.esil.com/sales. And thank you so much. And Frank, again, thanks so much for coming out and visiting with us, sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. This is really cool.
Awesome, brother.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, well, definitely. I've got so, we have a lot of financial, questions,
Okay.
what to look, so maybe we have you on a later episode. So
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
all right, brother.
You got it, man.
Thanks so much, everybody. I hope you have an amazing week, and look forward to hearing more about your stories. So thanks again. We'll talk soon.